Lesson 2. Preview. Focus on the main idea. Indian civilization developed with influences from the Aryans and Persians. Places: Harappa, Mohenjo-daro. People: Cyrus II, Darius I, Chandragupta Maurya, Ashoka. Vocabulary: Brahmin, Sudru. Terms: Sanskrit, Vedas, Zoroastrianism. India and Persia. You are there. During your travels to South Asia, you come across a tall, polished column of rock. You stop for a moment, have a drink of water, and then squint your eyes. The hot sun is almost blinding. You notice several inscriptions on the column, but cannot make out the writing. You read in your guidebook that these writings were the proclamations of a king. As you continue sightseeing, you come across ruins of brick buildings. They are in the form of what used to be a grid-shaped pattern. Your guidebook tells you that the civilization that lived here disappeared suddenly. No one really knows why or how. You think about your travels in China. While loading your camera with film, you wonder if South Asia will be very different from East Asia. You snap a photo and run to catch up with the group. Target skill: Summarize. As you read, summarize the main ideas about early civilizations in the Indus River Valley. Indus River Valley Civilization. People began to settle in the Indus River Valley about 3500 BC. However, the civilization began about 2500 BC. At the center of this civilization were people very much like the cotton workers in Pakistan you read about in Lesson 1. In the 1920s and 1930s, archaeologists uncovered several ancient cities in the Indus River Valley in Pakistan. Two of these cities, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, were home to thousands of people. Look at the map on page 128 for a locator map of this area. Artifacts tell us about how these people lived. We know that they had a system of writing. However, like the writing system of the ancient Nubians, we have not been able to decode it. Archaeologists also know that people farmed and stored grain, worked with metal crafts and pottery, wove cotton, and traded and sold goods. Statues that may represent gods and goddesses suggest that they had religious beliefs. People made toys and beads for jewelry. By 2500 BC, the Harappan civilization was thriving. Its culture had spread through much of the Indus Valley. Remains found at Mohenjo-daro reveal complex architecture and city planning. The people used a system of weights and measures to construct buildings and roads. Brick homes were laid out in a grid system, like many modern cities are. People enjoyed a large public bath and even garbage collection. The Harappan civilization vanished suddenly sometime around 1700 BC. Many archaeologists suspect this was because of a natural disaster, such as a monsoon, flood, or earthquake. The region's river location and physical geography could have made these disasters very possible. Review. What do we know about Harappan civilization in the Indus River Valley? Summarize. The Aryans arrive. About 1500 BC, another group of people, the Aryans, migrated to the Indus River Valley. They crossed the Hindu Kush Mountains from the north and went through the Khyber Pass before arriving in the Indus River Valley. The Aryans spoke Sanskrit, a different language from other people who were living in the valley. In the valley, the Aryans continued their nomadic way of life, herding cattle, sheep, and goats. The Aryans brought new technology. Like the Hyksos, who took power in Egypt in about 1650 BC, the Aryans rode chariots drawn by horses. The Aryans soon developed villages and towns where they farmed and traded. The Aryans left behind few objects for archaeologists to find, such as pottery, jewelry, or ruins of buildings. What they did leave was literature, and their main language, Sanskrit. For hundreds of years before their stories and songs were written down, they were recited from memory. The Vedas, or books of knowledge, contain these writings. According to the Vedas, the Aryans waged many wars among their groups or tribes. The Vedas also describe contests between gods and humans. Review. What did the Aryans leave behind that tells us about their culture? Summarize. Aryan culture spreads. The Aryans formed groups that were headed by a Raja, or priest leader. Consuls advised the Raja. The groups traded with each other, using cattle and gold for money. As the Aryan society became more prosperous, many conflicts arose among the groups. In the Battle of the 10 Kings, one group was victorious over other groups. Mahabharata and Ramayana are two popular tales. They describe these battles as well as many other stories. The Aryans believed that what a person did in life had much to do with who he or she was. Their society was organized according to these beliefs. Priests and teachers, or Brahmins, held the highest position in society. Warriors, kings, and other rulers took the next position, followed by a group called the cultivators, artisans, traders, and merchants. The Sudras, or serfs, were given the lowest position in society. They were ordered to farm the land and serve others. By about the 6th century BC, Sanskrit was in written form. 16 states had been formed. The Aryan culture had spread east to the Ganges River Valley. Another group of people from the north, the Persians, then began to arrive in the Indus River Valley. News about riches in the valley encouraged people in Persia to migrate south. Armies sent by Persian kings moved into 2 regions in the Indus River Valley. Review. How did the Aryans organize themselves into different positions in society? Main idea and details. Here and there. Class systems. Beginning in 1200 BC, just after the Aryan people had migrated to the Indus River Valley, the Olmec people were settling near the Gulf of Mexico. Archaeologists have found evidence that the Olmec organized themselves into a class structure. The Olmec had a ruling class of nobles and priests at the top of the class system. Then they had a farming class below the nobles and priests. How was the Olmec class structure similar to that of the Aryans? The Persian Empire. Cyrus II is said to have been the founder of the Persian Empire. Look at the map below. From about 550 to 320 BC, the empire stretched from the Mediterranean Sea to the Indus River Valley. Persian culture was united with the culture of the Babylonians, Lydians, and the Egyptians. The Persian Empire was constructed after the Persians invaded the lands of these people. At its height, the Persian Empire ruled 20 provinces, linked together with a system of roads. King Darius I, who followed Cyrus, brought the Persian Empire to India. Although war and bloodshed helped build this empire, historians suggest that Cyrus may have been a tolerant ruler. For example, it is believed that he freed the Jewish people from slavery in Babylon and ordered that their temple be rebuilt in Jerusalem. The development of roads and trade by the Persians connected India with other lands in Central Asia. India was no longer cut off by its northern mountains. South Asian culture, technology, and people began to spread to the rest of the world. One aspect of Persian culture that can be found in South Asia today is Zoroastrianism. Zoroastrianism is a religion founded by the Persian prophet Zoroaster in what is today known as Iran. Although Persian religion recognized many gods, Zoroaster identified one god as supreme and the enemy of evil. People who follow the teachings of Zoroaster today are known as Parsis because their ancestors came from Persia. Review. How did the Persians influence Indian civilization? Cause and effect.